B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
Tonight, we're heading to classic 90s New York boom bap. My guest released an amazing debut album in 1993, mixing punchlines with classic New York sound, with a stage name that nobody could forget. Welcome my guest, Pudgee Tha Phat Bastard. What is up, man?
Yo, what up, bro? Thanks
you-
for the superstar intro.
Do you remember the first time you heard hip hop?
Yeah. My father, he brought home the Sugar Hill Gang record. And it pretty much was history after that. You know, hip hop was still growing, so there wasn't much to latch on to, but you know, I'm 3 years older than hip hop, so yeah.
Right.
The first hip hop record.
Right. Yeah, I was born in the 70s too, so I always looked at hip hop and I growing up kind of the same time. And you know,
Right.
as I was growing, hip hop was growing, and that's how I always looked at it.
Absolutely.
So you get the bug right away. Who are some of your favorite MCs as a kid?
Kool G Rap, super duper. Streets in New York, everything. Yep. Yeah. The whole Juice Crew, when the whole Juice Crew was Juice Crewing.
Right.
It's so far behind me where I even Salt and Pepper, Latifah, Master Ace. I mean, listen, I think you say some of my favorite, but it's funny. I found myself liking a record from everybody at that time. You know, Tribe Called Quest. I mean, though some of them became my friends before or during our hip hop journey, everybody had a record that I liked. I may not have liked your album, but everybody at that time had a fire joint. Moni Love, like that tongue twister style was fire, especially for a female.
Right.
And she still, you know, she made it sound so, it was like candy rolling off her tongue, you know. Latifah, super duper aggressive, MC Light. Like it's tragedy. You know, my friends, Large Professor, Nas, Akinelli, everybody that Rage, the UMCs, like, I think the poor righteous teachers who we don't talk about enough.
I agree. Yeah.
Man, it was so many people. The Troubleneck Brothers, you know, and people aren't familiar with them because they didn't get their shine. They were from Harlem, dope group, and Wu-Tang-esque before Wu-Tang, and it had that energy of a whole camp, you know, that we like.
Right.
Troubleneck Brothers. Shout out to Troubleneck Brothers in Harlem, man. I wish they would have done way bigger things. But Harlem World, Sugar J, Maze, Honey Combs, all my people like Cam, Foxy, everybody that I think I've surrounded myself with had joints that I loved. Big Pac, you know, I may not have loved your collection, your anthology, but even Hammer, and that used to be a conversation with me because back in the days people would say MC Hammer's whack. I'm like, listen, the energy that man brings, it's the song with the composition yields after it's produced, right? So it's not really just about their lyrical skills. Yes, we love lyrical skills and we know who to go to when we want that. But sometimes in the club, lyrical skills never really come to be a part of the palette, the audio palette in that moment. So yeah, so that's my answer. Yeah.
A lot of good names. You mentioned Master Ace, who I always say is not mentioned enough when looking back at the greats. I mean, I'm a huge Master Ace fan. I always think he doesn't get his full due. So I love to hear his name being brought up.
Yeah, he's dope. He's dope.
Man, dope. So at what age did you start thinking, you know, maybe I can do this? When did you start rhyming, rapping yourself?
I started writing rhymes, you know, after I heard the whole UTFO, Roxy and Shantae battle. You know, the battle kind of inspired me to want, you know, to talk crap to us, you know. Right. So, and that's what we do, you know, in the street, you know, snapping, playing the dozens, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to do that on record. That was the part of hip hop that I really loved. I wasn't so much for we in the club and we partying everybody. That didn't do nothing for me. The beats did, you know, all the music, especially since they were rhyming over disco records a lot of the times. The music did something to me, but I never latched on to an MC until Kool G Rap. I latched on to every word. Like,
Old.
yeah, and I know people like to say punchlines, but just his cadence, his own tone, the lisp, you know, a lisp, which is something somebody might think is an impediment to being an orator or an orator, right? Somebody who's an MC, someone who's using their voice to reach others. He made use of a lisp, which I don't think enough people give him credit for. You know, the way he used his instrument, you know, that was interesting. I never really latched on to an MC until Kool G Rap. But I loved Roxanne Shantae's witty repartee and her retorts. They were cool. And, you know, dissing is always a good thing. But G Rap gave me an experience, an urban experience in record, you know? Yeah, he had metaphors and all, but the streets of New York, there's just the way he said it. Like, the things he says is crazy. Like, Ill Street Blues was supposed to be his record. I mean, supposed to be my record. And it ended up being his record because I didn't like the beat.
Wow.
But to give away a record to my forefather, if you will, to the greats, and be like, oh, that's how he's supposed to do it. Thank you for still teaching me, even though I'm on already. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was an amazing time. So yeah, those are the people that really, yeah. And G Rap is probably the one that's G Rap and Latifah. Really, because her delivery, you know, just being around her delivery was unbelievable. The clarity of her tone, the timbre, yeah, the precision. Yeah. So those two, I would say, super influence. I love Chubb Rock too, man. I used to listen to those joints all the so I could go on forever. It's hip-hop.
Right, yeah. It was called the Golden Age for a reason. I mean,
I appreciate that.
it seemed like everyone was dope back then. But how did you come up with the name Pudgee the Fat Bastard?
My grandmother died. I started eating a lot of junk food. Girls were like, "You're not fat, you're pudgy," and that stuck around the way. And my rap name at the time was MC Effect.
Okay.
Because of the way that I affect MCs when I rhyme with an A, effect. Yeah. So that was dumb. And but Nas and Akinelli and Fatal and Large Professor will tell you that I was MC Effect first. And Old Dirty Bastard and I were on the train together before either one of us came out. And he was like, I'm gonna call myself Old Dirty Bastard. Now, we use the bastard word for different names, but he is the one who really inspired me. What happened was people would always say, I hate that fat bastard because of the way I spoke, or when I battled you in a rhyme, like, fuck that fat bastard, or excuse me, whatever.
Yeah,
so
you can cuss.
Okay, cool. So at some point I decided that was going to be the way that I would remove the power from the way that they said it. And I was like, I'm a lyricist. I should be able to give power to words in the way that I want. Right. And I was like, Pudgee the Fat Bastard. So that's how I became Pudgee the Fat Bastard. And I tested it out on people, and it did what you said. It created the I want to know more area. So it had a great effect. It was a good decision.
You signed with Giant Records, that first album. Talk about, you know, signing with Giant and working on that first album. I know the single was Checking Out the Avenue, was the single, I believe, off that album. You know, how was that whole process?
I guess as a younger person, the younger version of me would say that it was a curious time, because even still, when I look back at my former self, I don't really know some of the things I should have basked more in or took more advantage of, or some things that I didn't realize were blessings at that moment. I wish I had a magnifying glass that would have said, this is a moment, you know, and made more of that. And if I go back to just the simple elementary time of that moment, I learned a lot. I was shaped. I got a lot of support from people. I got to be creative and got to make records that I felt brought people into the world that I'm from, you know, and especially checking out the Avenue because it was the last song for the album. And I'm from Harlem initially. I live in Bronx. You know, I grew up in the Bronx after that, but I'm from Harlem and I went to school in Harlem, always hung out in Harlem because I was from there, went to school there, so that's where the majority of my friends were. So socioeconomic things, I don't know, they seem to be spotlighted in my mind or highlighted all the time. You know, I had the ability to see things as bigger than just an instance, you know, whether it was domestic abuse or drugs and what would be the causal effects of those things happening, whether it was society or what it was going to do or what precedent did it set if this happened for later on. And that made me write Checking Out the Avenue. I had a lot of friends getting locked up, they were getting shot. Things were happening with parents and their relationships with their children. And something about it told me to checking out the avenue wasn't hanging on the corner. Checking out the avenue was check out the world around you and make sure you know where you are as a human in that moment and you're not oblivious. And I think I've carried myself like that always, but I didn't know it and didn't have the ability or the faculties to articulate to you that that's the place that I originate from, where I work from. So it was, again, looking back at my former self, I'm very proud of some of the things. And then other things, I don't have any regrets, but I wish that someone would have said, this is the thing you should pay attention to. You know, whether it be contracts or, you know, how people really were a representative of themselves versus the actual authentic version of themselves. And me aligning myself with people that weren't true to me as I was true to them. I feel very lucky that I'm alive when artists are learning to own their stuff and they're learning that the powers that be aren't the only powers that exist. And there are ways to negotiate, even if you need to coexist with those powers. There's still a way that you can have your voice and your demands and your artistry respected and not be so desperate for a deal. You know, we didn't have as many options back then, you know, and I say that, but I'm really understating. We almost had nothing, you know, in regards to a way out or way for an outlet for our music. You were almost screaming inside that someone would allow this voice to be heard. Now you can go to YouTube. Before it was almost like your artistry was eating you alive because you couldn't let anybody hear it. You know, this radio that you wanted to get on, these interviews, these people you wanted to perform for, you didn't even know how to reach them. They didn't know you existed. And you were looking for some middle person to put you in the sights of the people that would make you omnivisible, which was a lot of praying and a lot of grinding simultaneously.
So that first record comes out. So what happened with Giant after that? Because that would have been the only release on Giant.
Well, after the first single, Checking Out the Avenue, I didn't want to stay on the label.
Okay, so it was your decision?
It was my decision both times. The music, again, whoever I was as a young person, things were unsettling to me, and I had the ability to see this is an R&B based label. They don't have other artists I could piggyback off of, like a Def Jam or Death Rows or whatever labels were competing at the time. And So Def always stuck out to me as a paradigm, an archetype. It stood out to me as the bar, you know, for crews and piggybacking and having a CEO of the label who, once he stamped you, the world paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, Mace, and a lot of us, I know Nelly, looked at Jermaine in that way because Jermaine was that guy. But he was also not sitting in an office in a suit. He was alongside the artist. So that spoke to a lot of artists. And shout out to Jermaine, it's my guy. But it's hard to get to those people. So when I was on Giant, I just was like, nah, I don't want to be here after the first single. And we ended up having a party for the album, two different parties, one in Atlanta, one here. All that was cool, but I still wasn't in my dream place as an artist, and I wanted off. So Latifah ended up helping me get off. And once I left that label, I was on my own to then again find how I would find the next home for my music.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, Max Goose, who was the person that signed me at Giant, found enough value in my artistry to come back and sign me to his then new project and his new venture. I think I ended up, with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, but he had Adina Howard, he was working with B2K, Michael Speaks, he had a whole bunch of people. So I got signed to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and after working with Nick Wiz for a long time on demos, I just played things for Max and things started happening. I went to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and listen, I want to say this so that it goes down in history correctly. They treated me like a king. They gave me 100% of my publishing. Wow. Anything I asked for, Jimmy and Terry made happen. That probably was the best situation I've ever been in because they were artists before, with Prince, playing for Prince. So they were resonating from a different place as I resonate from a different place. So I respected that situation. My problem, aside from them, was the team that they hired was not capable. They may have been vetted and been capable in their other entities they worked at and been high performing. But here as a collective, it wasn't as progressive thinking as I would have liked it to be. And I knew that as a young person, not only from looking at my friends who had entities behind them that were moving and that figured it out, I was seeing this mechanism not move with this mechanism. And I was like, all right, this machine is bad, and it could have been A&M, it could have been the direct hires, promotion. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I have to say, as a machine, it did not work. So I told them I wanted off after the first single. They asked me to stay for the second single. I did because I like Jimmy and Terry. And, I got DMX on the project. These were all my friends. I got Biggie, I got Diggable Planets. I did a whole bunch of MOP, Funk Master Flex, D-Nice. I had all these people doing all these features for me on the low. And one of the last records we did, I think, was Think Big, Yeah,
and, with Biggie.
Right. And that was all because Max had introduced me to Minnesota. But I liked working with Max and Roger when they had their company. Again, they brought out Adina and he worked with B2K and all these, he has Saweetie now. But Max had vision, whereas Jimmy and Terry had vision, but they weren't hands-on. I was Max's thing. He was the production company. So for me, it needed to be all the big brains in one room. And once that happened, I think things would have went more along the line. Like Jimmy and Terry, listen, they said, give us your dream list of producers. They got Barry White to talk on my album. I mean, come on. Barry White is in the intro of the New York album. Yeah. So they're like, Barry White, like, even if your parents hate that you do hip hop, once you got Barry White saying, Pudgee Tha Phat Bastard, it's over.
Right.
So there were great things again in that situation. I don't think any situation is terrible because if you got into it, that would mean you had no forethought. So no situation is terrible. It's just how they progress wasn't to my liking by any measure.
So you mentioned a lot of names. You did that track with Biggie, who's obviously now looked upon as one of the greatest MCs. Out of all these great people you got to work with, who are your favorite one or two people you got to do songs with?
That's like a weird ass question because let's keep it 100. Like all the moments are different, right?
Sure, sure.
If in the beginning, and when I say weird, I mean it's weird for my brain to even cohesively say, well, working with Kool G Rap, your idol, on your first album, as opposed to MC Light coming in later and just talking on your album, because like that's not a best moment. That's not a favorite anything. That's a continual life party. That's like they left and you thought the party was over. Then the next person came and you thought the party was over. So there's no best. I can't even lie to you. All of those moments for people that are aspiring to have their voice heard by their peers and to have their peers appear in their career. Oh, those balls is a real thing. You feel me? So let me tell you what the best moment for me. Having Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis say, I'm lit. Like, what did you do? They did Janet Jackson, SOS Band, and on and on. Like, they worked with Prince. I didn't need anything after that, bro. So those are the things to me. I can stop and think about every artist I work with and find the importance, the value, the happiness, the presence in those moments and the history. So I don't have a favorite. I'm not gonna even lie to you. More of my moments were running to Latifah's first video before I was on, becoming friends with her, and then being in the studio with her for the UNITY album and having a plaque from that on my wall. Those things trump everything. Yeah. You know, I have these full circle moments. I liked Roxanne Shante, and then I ended up writing on her Bitches Back album. I wrote 2 songs for her. One made the album because there wasn't enough room. And I was writing alongside Kool G Rap because he wrote on that album. So I have these cathartic full circle moments. That's how I get my shine. Let me see, Left Eye and I used to hang out, and we did this Live Aid thing where we would sign photos for the fans and everything in the very beginning of our careers. And later on, I'm writing 5 songs on her Supernova album. Like, everything for me seems to just go in a circle. You don't really know why you meet. Even with Max Goose, look at that. I told you, he signed me at Giant, and then he signed me to his own possession. It's like I had these full circle moments that if you're someone that doesn't pay attention to your life cycle, you won't understand how things were orchestrated. But I see every moment, and I'm like, wow, God brought me here to meet the person, here later to work with the person, and in 2 different capacities, one as a student and the other as a peer, as a coworker. It's deep for me. So that's where my joys are, if I had to say anything.
Sure. I always like to ask shows, do you have any 1 or 2 crazy show memories, just something bananas happened at a show?
Oh yeah. Good question. We were at a show downtown. I never remember what the name of that place is on 14th Street. Was it the Palladium? Maybe that was the name. Anyway, it's a whatever big club right there on 14th Street. And Jesse West, you know who Jesse West is? Jesse West, who's from my neighborhood, Biggie, Tupac, and a whole bunch of us were on stage. And we're doing, I forgot what song is on, but we're pushing each other. I almost feel like it was Onyx Slam. I almost feel like that. Anyway, we're pushing each other to the song. The energy was on fire. And Pac pushes me. I almost fall off the stage, and he and Jesse West grabbed me and pulled me back on the stage. I mean, I literally almost fell into the crowd. And because they were throwing water all over the place, bumping into each other, I slipped on the water and almost went head first into the crowd. Like, ah, it was crazy. And they grabbed me. That's probably like the not the craziest, but without going into weird people's sexual instances, right. or finding people with drugs in their room, and you're like, whoa. Yeah, that's probably the most PG-13 thing I could find.
Another question I like to ask is, Have you ever written either a verse, a song, or even a line, one bar, that you released and then later regretted what you said?
No, but in my adult mind and in an adult space, I found that they on Money Don't Make Your World Stop, on my record Money Don't Make Your World Stop, they would censor Selena's name. In the rhyme, I say, hoping my fans don't kill me like Selena. But that was not a mockery of her life.
Right.
Not only am I Hispanic, and that would be just like defiling my whole existence. I was saying the things that happened, and for years, you know, fans had been stalking people, stabbing people, you know. So when that happened with her, I was in a place, again, I write from a socioeconomic, serious perspective. I think because people hear them as metaphors or similes, they may like to trivialize what you're saying, but we make music to tell you, not to ask you, you know, unless we're saying, why are you sleeping with your friend's husband, you know, in the song.
Sure.
So when I'm telling you, I'm hoping, you know, it's real out here. I hope nothing like that happens to myself or any of my peers. So no one's really addressed me, but when they censored it, it made me say, what's the importance of them censoring? You know, it just made me pay attention. I've never had a line that I feel I regret. No.
New album, Monsters and Heroes. You know, promote that, talk about that. What's that?
So Monsters and Heroes is, once again, me talking about your choice as a person to be the villain or to be the person who's got some type of moral compass, right? And the songs keep changing, but I got, you know, the first song's supposed to be Choose Violence, and it's more R&B flavor because I found myself experimenting not with the melodic styles like of today, but I really wanted to challenge myself to hear vocals. I had been listening to a lot of singers. I only started listening to R&B when I was like 25, and I don't know, I got in this place where I wanted to do that. But I've got this song that I'm really proud about called This Year. And the song says, this year is going to be better than last year. It's a fire song. And I like when I write songs and people tell me that this would have been good to come out right now because I made the song in like December. But I realize when I write, I'm writing timeless music. This year is going to be better than last year. It can be played every year. I didn't want to date. You know, I didn't want to be Prince and say we're going to party like it's 1999 because when that year passes, it's over for that.
Right.
So I'm proud of that song. And then there's a song Set That Up that everybody's going crazy over. And it's a ratchet song. I'm like, shorty wanna fuck, set that up. Like it's horrible. But the song is fire. And it's hip hop and it's real. I am authentic. So yeah, this album is going to, I think, be another full circle moment for me because I don't think I was in a competitive space before where I wanted to just bar everybody to death and show you that I'm the best rapper that ever did it. And now I want to be creative and play with sonics and play with my tones and understand what else is inside. You know what I mean? It's like staying at one job for the rest of your life and all you do is put the hubcap on a car. That's your life. That ain't me. I'm not the hubcap person. I want to move. I want to build a car. Then I want to build a truck. Then I want to see what's up with the planes. Y'all got the planes? But, you know, I want to know more about me because I am my own vehicle.
So now what my podcast is known for is the second half where I just do some basic hip hop, just talk hip hop shop. So if you could only listen to one MC for the rest of your life, who would that MC be?
What in the holy? I would have to say from any period, right?
Any period, yeah. Any MC.
I'm gonna have to say Kendrick Lamar.
Wow. More modern.
Yeah, and I only say that because if I had to listen to him for the rest of my life, Kendrick plays with tones, he plays with cadences, rhythms, He likes to balance a song where it's dark in this part and light in this part, and that would at least not make it the Man with the Hubcaps. It would be different moments on the album. A lot of people, if I listen to LL, I know what I'm getting, you know? And I want someone that's going to give me the range that at least feels like if it's a dystopian world and we have nothing but this one radio and some desert, it's a different moment. There's some singing going on. There's some dark whatever. Over here, you talking about this pitch or whatever, and now you're talking about family problems. Now you're talking about the hood. And it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? Will I listen to Kendrick every day now? No, absolutely not. There's a whole bunch of stuff that moments that I want from other people. You know what I'm saying? If I had one album that I could only listen to for the rest of my life, it would be Summer Walker. But if it's a rap album, it would have to be something from Kendrick.
Well, in similar question, you're in this deserted wasteland and you can only bring 5 albums with you. What are those 5 albums? It doesn't have to be hip hop, just 5 albums.
Summer Walker, Over It. Summer Walker, Still Over It. Summer Walker, the Last Day of Summer, and then The Chronic, Foxy Brown's first album.
Oh, Il Nana. So now I'm gonna do some this or that. I'm gonna give you 2 options. You pick which one you think is greater.
Oh, I do that in my show. Let's go.
All right, we're starting with albums.
You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this.
Biggie's Ready to Die or Life After Death?
Life After Death.
Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full, or Big Daddy Kane, Long Live the Kane?
Paid in Full.
Dr. Dre's The Chronic or Snoop's Doggy Style?
Doggy Style. I should have said that on one of my other albums. It's a crazy mixed up world. It's a doggy. Yo, it's a doggy dog world. All right, my bad. Go ahead.
Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory or Midnight Marauders?
Oh,
that's a tough
Midnight
one.
Marauders. Midnight Marauders.
Public Enemy, Nation of Millions, or Boogie Down Productions, By Any Means Necessary?
Oh my God, there's no mixtapes.
Those are your choices.
Oh my God, bro. I feel like a gun is in my head. I already know, like that's whole tour. Okay, all right, Karen's one.
There's no right or wrong answer. I mean,
nah, I know,
you're good either way. Yeah.
I'm from the Bronx. I gotta go to the Bronx.
All right, 1988 West Coast releases: Eazy-E's Easy Does It or Ice-T Power?
I see.
Nas Illmatic, Jay-Z Blueprint?
So left and right. That's a Nas. I'm gonna go with Nas.
Nas. Producers: DJ Premier or Pete Rock?
I'm gonna go with I'll go with Pete Rock.
Wow. He doesn't get enough love on that question, so I'm kind of glad you picked him.
Yeah,
Pete Rock made my all-time favorite beat of all time, the Reminisce Over You beat.
Absolutely. That's what I hear in my head.
Oh.
He had a whole bunch of joints with other people, D-Dot Baby Pod and other people that he was bringing out, and his brother and them, grabbing. And I feel like he has so many joints in the stash that never got to see the light of day. So I'm gonna pick him. Shout out to Premier, that's my bro.
Oh yeah. Hood movies, East Coast, Juice or New Jack City?
Well, Tupac's in Juice, so you know how much.
Yeah, then I got the West Coast version, Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood?
Boys in the Hood. Yeah. Boys in the Hood.
All right, my last part is I name an MC and you got to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, whatever it is. DMX.
My brother.
Rest in peace. Ice-T.
Power.
How about Chino XL?
Lyrics.
Bad lyrics. Redman.
Crazy. Oh, my bro.
Ed OG.
Be a father to the child.
Yeah, that's a classic one. Brand Nubian.
Hip hop in the summer.
Foo Schnickens.
Skills.
Yeah, Chip Fu was so ahead of his time with that rhyme style.
Word. Shout out to Chip. Word.
Right. Not
Word
enough
up.
props is given to that. The Alcoholics.
Oh, my brother. Shout out to Tash. That's the fam. I feel like if I had to, they're like the party thugs. Yeah, the party
Right.
thugs.
Another RIP, Heavy D.
Mentor. The way he would take you under his wing and tell you, yeah, that kind of hit different.
Mhm.
That was yeah. Like when I was trying to find my approach, the first thing he said is, yo, when you rap street, I love it. Yo, your hard rap is crazy. Like he and Latifah that's all he used to say. So mentor, like he gonna help you find yourself.
How about Nice and Smooth?
That's the family. I was just with them. Well, since they're two people, I would say genius, lyrics overall is the umbrella, charisma, style, and presentation. Yeah. The way they presented hip hop in a world where you thought you had to be this, they did their own thing. They said musicians that wasn't the musicians that played the instruments they did. They had incredible beats and they wanted to party. They serious dudes, but they wanted to party on their music. That's a risk. They trendsetters, innovators. I could go on for days. We don't want to do that.
How about Spice One?
What's the West Coast is the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear Spice One. That was probably one of my biggest introductions to the sound.
You talked about the Bronx. How about Tim Dog?
Hardcore.
That's the perfect word for Tim Dog.
Word up. Ruthless. Bun to bun.
When you listened, yeah, that's a good pun actually.
Right.
If I had the fuck Compton. But if you when you heard Tim Dog, you know, you believed him. You thought that he had reached through his speaker and bust you in your shit. I mean,
he sounded like my mad uncle to me when he went.
Yeah.
So you definitely had to okay, like yeah.
I'm sorry. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
I mean, I don't want to overuse the word party or fun or because it's crazy. He was like Luke, but not Luke. You understand what I'm saying? Like he was talking about the feminine shape and objectifying women, but it didn't come off as offensive, as controversial as Luke. So I don't even have a way to frame him. I could say fun, but I feel like that's taken away from his importance. He had a rough delivery, almost like Tim Dog, but his content wasn't the same. The music was different. The message was different, and it hit different. So I'll go with different.
That's a good way to explain it. You framed it like no one ever really did between him and Luke, because you're right. He was talking about the same things as Luke, but it didn't seem as vulgar or offensive. Yeah, that's a good explanation. All right, I got a couple more. Mike Geronimo.
My brother and still one of the illest Queens lyricists. Underrated. I don't know. I don't have enough words for that. Present, relevant, fire. Okay, leader. Bringing brothers along, bringing royal flush, like you know, hip hop culture is. Yeah.
Talk about lyricists. Big L.
My brother. We was always together around that time. We met through Lord Finesse and Harlem, you know, so yeah, one of the most genuine people that lived in hip hop and one of the nicest lyricists. I had no problem with letting you know he was nice, but not trying to do the most, you know? So yeah, R.I.P. Big L. And I hate saying R.I.P. because it makes me get in this space with everybody that I know.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say shout out to Big L.
Right. K Solo.
Super talented. And he isn't talked about enough. Absolutely. I mean the gruff voice, the delivery, the technique, the subject matter, the articulation of the subject matter, and the music. And it was funny because for a slight moment, he and Redman, you thought were one person. You know, when I say that, that's what people saw. Whether they're brothers or they felt like what's separating you, right? But when you listen to Redman rhyme and you listen to K Solo rhyme, you understand that they again were coming from different places. There's a different light on either one of them, and I would still like to hear what he's doing. So fire. Yeah.
And lastly, D Nice.
Well, D Nice was on my Money Don't Make Your World Stop remix. He's the Bronx. I mean, and he's still hip hop. We just got to put hip hop on him. We can put consistent on him. We could put longevity on him. We could put committed. So shout out to D Nice.
Yeah, how he was able to reinvent himself during the pandemic and all that is mad impressive.
And I don't know if he was intentionally trying to do anything. He was just doing what he does.
Yeah.
And that's why I said authentic and consistent. Those things, when you're being yourself, man, people will catch on.
Sure. So do you have any pluggables to plug? Where can people get at you?
Yeah. You can go to www.pudgeethafatbastard.com. PUDGEETHAPHATBASTARD.com. You can find me at Pudgee Tha Phat Bastard on Twitter. Pudgee Tha Phat on Twitter and Pudgee Tha Phat Bastard on Instagram. I'm working on a new artist, Pyrex Platt. I'm working with Sweet Tea on her new project. I'm working with a new artist from Queens, a young lady by the name of Essence. And I'm still ghostwriting, but when you do that, you got to be a ghost. So I'm involved in a few television shows. I can't even say the name of them, but let's say this. Shout out to Nikki Nicole, because she's about to do a lot for the hip hop culture. Yeah, Nikki Nicole is she was one of the first female producers. She did Sweet Sable's album. She did Brandy, Too Unorthodox. She's about to do some big things, and I want everybody to look out for that because I'm involved in that. I got an upcoming album, like you said, Monsters and Heroes, and I got so much music that's about to drop. I'm like, set that up. Look for Set That Up this summer, which is the big single, and I'm a doer, so talking about it makes me crazy. But PudgeeThaPhatBastard.com, merchandise is up there, history is up there, old album is up there. Please tap in, follow, and look out for what's coming new. Sweet Tea is dropping the Don't Play With a Single, I'm on the chorus. So shout out to her as well.
Thank you so much. I love talking to people I listen to, and it takes me back to that high school age, and just checking out every Emcee I could. So it's an honor when I get to talk to them.
Oh, also one thing.
Yeah.
Shout out to my bro, DJ Tech One, TEKWUN. I'm on the intro to his Passport music album that's on every streaming platform, I guess. Y'all need to check that out. That joint is so fire. If you like me from the 90s, then you'll like me now. So check that Passport music intro is crazy. I went crazy on that. That's fire. That's fine. And Co-Sounds, I'm on his song on iTunes as well, Hugging and Squeezing. So check those out. I'll bow out. There's gonna be a lot of music coming out.
Well, I'll be peeping it out, no doubt. So
I appreciate you, bro.
All right.
Let's get it.
All right. Take care.
All right, cool.
Peace.
frequent, you get me wet. Let's be friends with benefits and let's not have no regrets. We meet up where we meet at. I take it, you give me that. It happens and we leave, that's where we leave that. When it's over, it's over. Don't nobody need closure. If you calling out, don't call back, don't call over and over. When you say that you agree that we don't need to keep in touch, I'ma say let's get it, baby, then you know you free to touch. I'm like, yeah, baby, you about to make me mad, mad. I'm about to sing love songs, that's what I'm good at. I'ma come like Santa with that big bag. Can't get juvenile, like look at her over there. That's my bitch, yeah. Like what you afraid of? You gon' be my main love. I'ma play with the weather, I'ma make it sunny, make it rain, love. Let's walk the streets, I'll make it feel safe. When you're with me, babe, let's show a little bit of PDA. I know you gon' be my bad habit. I gotta keep us a secret and I'm bad at it. No negotiations, take it or leave it. You like, can you keep a secret? Can you keep a secret? No, you don't want me to tell him the way I warm it up. You wantin' more. Talking about now you think that you found your love. Make me feel like I ain't good enough. You like, can you keep a secret? Can you keep a secret? How would you feel if I just never told my friends about